Welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. As always, I'm Subject. We've got Robert, we've got Noah, and we're here to talk about The Stepfather, in case you didn't notice from the title, or the thumbnail, or the little background. Robert, this was your pick. Why did you pick The Stepfather?
I picked The Stepfather because you guys haven't seen it before. I thought it could make for a fun discussion. It's kind of an underrated, maybe a little culty, 80s horror flick. I first saw this film with a friend a couple of years ago. I had never heard of it before. This one went completely under my radar, and when I finally watched it, but he sold me on just the premise alone immediately. I was like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, let's watch that, and I really enjoyed it. So I was curious to hear what you guys thought about it. Just it's one of those, we've covered a lot of slasher movies, a lot of really formulaic horror movies. However you feel about the film itself and the plot, I think this is just a dynamite premise and setup. It's so fun and twisted and messed up
Yeah,
Well, it's having
for
a
a
lot of
horror
fun
picture.
with kind of satire of like the white picket fence life,
The
yes,
family values.
family
yes.
values. I'm not gonna say that this movie is as relevant as it ever was, but I do think this movie kind of took on a different meaning in 2025 versus in 1987. And without giving away too much of my feelings on this film, further cements the proof that 1987 might be one of the best years for cinema, like of all time.
Definitely for horror cinema.
Yeah, well, that's the only cinema that matters. Noah, what did you think of The Stepfather?
I really enjoyed The Stepfather. I'll just come right out and say I had never heard of it before. I just knew we were doing a movie for this review. It was called The Stepfather. Never heard of it. Didn't really know the premise. Didn't know anything about the remake or anything like any of the history behind this movie. So I went in completely blind. And yeah, this movie from the very opening scene, the opening scene does such a great job at setting up the tone of the movie, what the premise is, um, exactly who our main character is and what he's all about. Is perfectly established in the very opening scene where you see him clean up after the murder of what was his current family at the beginning of the movie. And then go on like nothing happens, like completely mundane, just like as as normal as just like going for a walk is. He's just like is fine with killing his family, and then moves on to the very next one, which we cut to a year later, and see the rest of that play out. But yeah, the opening scene was very it did a good job at setting the like darkly comedic tone of the movie, which I definitely vibed with throughout. And like you said, John, this is very much a satire on kind of like the white picket fence, kind of like more so at the idea of like or the concept of like the conservative dad or the head of the household type thing. That's what this character is all about. So
Well,
yeah,
what I
no, it
find
was
really
good.
interesting, and I think the thing that drew me to this movie the most, is he wants to be that, but he doesn't want to earn it. He just wants to come into a family that already exists and make it that, versus
Yeah.
settling down with a woman, having a child of his own. Uh, I think there's something really funny about he wants this but doesn't want to put the work in.
Yeah, and I never thought about like because they don't. What I like about this too is that they don't reveal too much about his backstory. I think you get enough from the scenes when he's like running down into the basement and like freaking out
Oh,
about
and he's
like
so
you
good
know
in those scenes.
yeah, yeah. This Terry O'Quinn, I think the actor is. He was in Lost, which I
He
don't know.
was.
So, but so this
That
is
is
the
where I
main thing I
first see
know him
him.
from. Yeah, I think most people know him from that. But no, he's fantastic in the movie. But yeah, so we don't get a whole lot about his origin or anything. But I just thought of right now, like I don't even know if this even really started with him having a family of his own and then killing his family. I think he's always just been marrying into other families, and they don't really get into that, but I guess you can interpret it either
That
that way
was
or
the
the other
impression
way.
I got, is that just he's been doing this repeatedly, because you have that one guy that kind of has him down to the T. It's like, no, he's going to marry
Yeah.
like a middle-aged single woman with a child. Like
Mhm.
a lot of the times in fiction, which I'm sure is based on real life, but I don't want to speak for real life. People like this have a motif that they just keep on doing. But real quick, I
Yeah.
want to rewind. This is not the first thing that you've seen this actor in.
Okay.
He is
What's
in
the other thing?
Tombstone.
He
Oh,
is in Tombstone.
that's because everybody's in Tombstone.
He's in
He
Tombstone for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's Mayor John Clum. You liar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, if he's in there for 2 seconds, I didn't
That
remember him,
counts.
but he's fantastic in this movie.
He is.
Really, he's at the same time really funny and really disturbing in
You
those,
you
specifically in
really
those
need to watch
scenes.
Lost just for him. He's so good in that show. And he plays
Yeah.
not this same character, but a more morally ambiguous, kind of eccentric older guy. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of Lost. I just know he's like the fan favorite character.
yeah.
Um, and he's one of those character actor guys who's been in a million things like Tombstone for 5 seconds, and The Rocketeer. I think he's in. He has a small role in that. So he's like somebody I've like seen and stuff, but this is the only starring role I've seen him in. Like I said, Lost I haven't seen much of. But in this film, I think he's just absolutely wonderful as this character.
He's so
Oh,
good.
I didn't realize he's in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live.
He is in that. That's true. Okay, that is another thing I've seen him in.
But
Yeah, but he does a good job of like I said earlier, selling the more like darkly comedic moments. And like also just the things that he gets like so offended over are really funny. There's a part later, and we're kind of jumping around, but his stepdaughter in this movie is like kind of like his main antagonist basically, or is like the one that's like onto him the most, and she also is like kind of with this other boy and like kind of like going out with him and like flirting with him a bit. And then there's this part where he drops her back off at home, and then he kisses her goodbye, and then the stepfather comes out and like freaks out at him for like doing nothing.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that
That's
was the scene I was going to mention. That's where it clicked for me what we were going for with the satire, because it's just like
yeah,
an innocent goodnight kiss. He's like, this kid tried to rape her. She's too young for. I'm like,
yeah.
bro.
You're like,
Like,
whoa,
dude,
whoa, whoa.
dude.
It's not like that.
And he's like, that girl is 16. And the kid's like, I'm 16.
It's the opposite
No,
of Transformers, where the girl is 16 and the guy has a card that
Yeah.
shows why it's legal.
he might as well be the conservative dad who comes out with a shotgun, like, get off my lawn, leave my daughter alone. And then the mom's like, I've known that guy his whole life. He's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah, and again, Tara Quinn. It's funny. I want to say he's both the reason to watch it, but I also think it's disingenuous to the rest of the film to say like he carries it.
No, this is
Because
one of
there's a
those
lot here that really
films.
work.
This is one of those films where I wouldn't give it, like, if we were gonna do a rating, I wouldn't give it a 5, but I didn't
Yeah.
really have anything wrong with it either. It was just like, it's
Yeah.
doing everything that it's setting out to do, and I think it's doing it to the best of its ability. I don't think there's a weak link here. Maybe the cop guy,
Well,
who
he's not. Uh, he's not a cop. He's the, and you may have missed this, which is fine. I missed it on my first viewing. So he's the brother of one of the
oh, okay,
moms that he
The
killed.
very-
So it's a
that I
revenge
did miss that.
vigilante.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally like Rob in Friday Final Chapter. It's the same thing. The
This really
guy
could have
who's a
used that.
brother of
He's killing
victims.
me. He's killing me.
We almost get that though, because spoilers, it doesn't work out for him.
Yeah.
When he's kind of set up as like the kind of like the Sam Loomis of the movie, where
Yeah.
he's like coming in to take down the main antagonist, and no, he gets stabbed. So no final boy in this movie.
Um. So Robert, because you're the one that picked this, have you seen the sequels or remake?
I have not seen them. I'm aware of them. I've seen parts of the remake. We may end up covering that on this channel at some point down the road. But yeah, I've heard they're not great. The three I really have no interest in because that's when we lose Terry O'Quinn and
There's
he's
one reason that I
recast.
want to see 3 is because it has my favorite explanation from the 90s of why we recast. Oh, he got
Oh, of
plastic
course, yeah.
surgery.
That's
Of
why he looks and
course.
sounds different. And yeah,
I
and
mean,
Stepfather 2 though, just with the second one, it's like I don't like him surviving this movie just to make a sequel
That's
happen. I
my
think it
question,
really
because
yeah.
undercuts
he's
the ending
like
of this.
really, he's, I would argue, dead on that final shot. So I'm like, how in the hell did they make a second? Oh, of course they retcon it probably.
Yeah, he's. I've heard it's just
He went to the
he
hospital.
survives. He survived. He's in a mental institution, escapes, and then the same thing happens. But it's still Terry O'Quinn, so
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll watch it.
Somehow Jerry
I'm sure
Blake
he's
has
still great.
survived.
Exactly.
Somehow he
So
survived.
I could probably watch that and enjoy it on its own just for more of that performance, but like I wouldn't consider that canon, like because that does undercut the ending of this movie, and
Yeah.
it's just unnecessary. But I get why they made it because he's so good here. I
Yeah.
get why you want more of this.
Well, and this
Although,
must have been super cheap too, because this movie only made like 2 million at
yeah,
the box office.
it doesn't look very expensive either. So
But it looks, it
it's
doesn't
well
have that
directed.
modern movie problem of why are you putting your money here? Like I never feel like I'm going, where the hell's the money that they pumped into this?
Right. Um, Although you talking about 3 with the whole plastic surgery thing made me think, because that is like a goofy like 90s thing, but it is, I think, pretty in line with what this character does. He's always putting on disguises and
Well,
changing
and
his
what's funny,
appearance.
so just to get, this is connected but also off track for just a minute. Smallville does the same thing because they got Rutger Hauer to play a bad guy,
That's true.
but then they couldn't get him
Oh yeah,
back, so his character undergoes plastic surgery
of
so that
course.
they can recast him.
Dr. Loomis in Halloween 6 has the best plastic surgery I've ever seen a movie character get. It's almost like they did that just so they wouldn't have to keep putting that makeup on from his scar burns from
Yeah,
Halloween 2. It's just, I got
yeah.
plastic surgery and I just look like Donald Pleasance again. You're like, wow, that's impressive.
I got better.
So you said
But
that this
yeah.
was well directed, and I don't disagree. I have not
Mhm.
heard of anything else that this director has made.
Me
The
neither.
director's name is Joseph Rubin. However, his first film is called The Sister-in-Law. Can we like connect these and make the family cinematic universe? The
Family
sis
cinematic
the
universe.
sister-in-law, the stepfather, Mother's Day.
Yeah, so they're all just like slashers that are family members, and then
Uh,
in one movie they're all team up together and become the family.
yeah. Well, the sister-in-law is oh my God. Okay, I should have probably looked at this before I brought it up. The sister-in-law is a 1974 softcore
Okay.
sexploitation drama film.
I knew exactly where that was going as you were reading it. I was like, oh wait, is his first movie? Oh yeah, okay. No.
It was the
Like,
70s.
Well,
yeah.
so
What are you
that's the
doing again?
brilliance of the cinematic universe is each movie will be a different genre. You got your softcore porn, the horror film. You can do
Okay.
the mother as a romantic comedy.
I like
But
the idea that they're all slashers though, but that works too.
and also, and one thing I think I told John about before I got and watched it was don't go into this expecting a traditional slasher. This is not about the kills.
No.
It's just
And
character
I
study.
think that's why. Yeah, it is kind of a character study, but also like you guys were talking about earlier, we don't know a lot about this guy's background. You get one hint at it with the
Yeah.
psychiatrist guy that he later kills. He kind of pegs him, and it's like, oh, I take it you probably had like a
Oh,
strict upbringing. That's like the
yeah.
one little hit, and it literally very clearly pisses
Hit.
him off. Like
It makes him hit the psychiatrist with that like
with a
piece
two
of
by
wood.
four.
Yeah.
And
That's
also the psychiatrist fucks like that's a great scene because
I love
first
that
he's like
scene.
I'm a bachelor and then he's like I'm married and he was like
Yeah.
I thought you said you were a bachelor.
No, I love that scene, and I love how like the psychiatrist gets so cocky in that scene. There's that part where he's like, family. I'm not really into that white picket fence crap. You can
Mhm.
see like his face changes after that.
So
And
one thing I wanted to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
well, again, back to what you guys were talking about earlier. What I think this premise really works too. It's not just a serial killer who marries into a family, kills them, then moves on to the next one. Like it's quirk. No, he really is looking for that perfect family. He is sincere
Yeah,
in his goal, and it just never works out. So he's got to kill him. That
yeah.
that's how he justifies it. And again, to us, it's really funny and weird, but to the characters of the movie, it's horrifying.
So yeah, it's terrifying.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
Realistically, this is a really terrifying scenario, but it is, I think, presented in such a darkly comedic way that works for this.
So I
Like
wanted to
when
bring up. Oh, go ahead.
real quick, like when the main girl, is having trouble at school and says, maybe and gets expelled. Like I want to go to boarding school. I think that's best for everybody. And he's like, no,
You're gonna
that
break
fucks
up
up
the
my family plan.
Yeah, you're gonna break up the family.
Also,
It's
how
great.
many movies do you see where the kid wants to go to boarding school? Usually, it's the other way around.
Specifically to get away from him. Yeah.
But I wanted to bring up the psychiatrist because he might have been ended up being one of my favorite characters in the movie. And
Same.
I think partially because normally the psychiatrist is just the asshole. Like even when he's a good guy like a Dr. Loomis, he's still kind of an asshole. Uh, this guy's not.
No,
He's
he's a genuinely
friendly.
good
You know,
guy.
he makes jokes um about her concerns, but not like that. Haha, you're stupid for thinking this. It's like, oh, I'm trying to cheer you up. He takes her concerns seriously, even to the point where it gets him.
Yeah.
That's what gets him killed. You don't
Mhm.
see that very often. Normally, the psychiatrist is there either to be an asshole or make your life difficult.
Well, and because he's one of the genuinely good people in this movie, he does have to die, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Well, and again, it's just really well thought out with all these characters. Is that you could tell because our lead girl Stephanie, her father died a year ago. She's still struggling with that. That's why she's acting out at school, and you can tell that the psychiatrist she's seeing, it is a man by design because it's like, oh, he's filling like that fatherly role for her.
Yeah.
So and that's part of the rift between her and her actual stepfather before she even suspects him as the serial killer.
A
It's
killer.
she's already
Yeah.
kind of getting that need with this guy,
Mhm.
and there's a genuine friendship there, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I think this movie rides a good line though with Stephanie, where she's acting out, she's having these problems, but it's not too obnoxious.
She
It's
never comes off as
surprisingly realistic.
unlikable. I'm always
Yeah,
with her, which I don't have a lot of the times when we do this teenager lashing out. A lot of
teenage
the times
stuff.
they tend to come off as unreasonable. But let me ask you this, because you mentioned her needs are being met already by the psychiatrist for a father figure. She has a boyfriend. Do you think we get enough time with the mom exploring what she gets out of this relationship with Terry Quinn?
I think we get enough for the movie, but you could have developed her more. Like I got the gist of it. Like she's lonely. She wants that physical intimacy. It's like I get it. You could also just read into the time period this takes place and expectations of she's probably early 40s and is probably thinking I gotta find a husband like now because I'm
Right.
running out of time. Just thinking of social expectations
I can't. She
of
can't
that
be
time
like
period.
a single mom during that time.
'Cause
I
if
mean,
I
like
had
she
one
can
complaint
be,
about the
but
movie, I'm thinking now that I'm thinking about it, is it's really focused on the relationship between Jerry or Henry or
Mhm.
Bill, whatever,
whatever his real
and
name is.
and the teenager. The mom kind of gets shoved off into the side. Like, what is their dynamic? How do they interact? Especially, he's so hinged about sex, and I would assume intimacy. Um, like, is
Well, and to
she
be fair though,
getting
that
that?
doesn't come until
Specifically,
pretty late in the movie.
and it's
Uh,
specifically with his daughter.
mhm.
Right, but does he also act
He
like that way around his wife? Because I
no,
I mean,
because well, we do see them intimate early on in the movie,
mhm.
and it's a really unromantic
Awkward.
scene. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I like about the mom though is that her and Stephanie do have a decent relationship. Like they're not bickering the whole movie. This isn't the mom from Nightmare on Elm Street who's a nightmare of a person
Yes.
and a complete mess. Like no, they see her daughter gets expelled and she's surprisingly chill about it. Like okay, that happened. Let's figure this out. I think that's a big part why this movie works is you don't get the constant the typical yelling and screaming and fighting you usually see in this
this
premise.
movie
Like, no,
has
they
some
actually get along fine.
surprising understanding of teenage dynamics with parents.
Mhm.
It's not that CW or mid 2000s of these teenagers have to be the most unlikable people in the world, but it's really all the parents' fault, even though the parents don't seem that bad.
Mhm. And
No, what
it's
did you
just,
think of the mom?
Sorry, what?
yeah, go ahead.
What did you think of the mom?
I thought that yeah, she served her purpose well for the movie, and I agree that maybe she could have been developed a little more. But I think for as it stands in the movie, like I'm fine with enough of what we get with her and the daughter, because I'm pretty sure her first scene in this is like them being playful together.
Mhm.
The implication, I guess, is their relationship is completely fine. Um, it's just the stepfather that gets in the way of that. It's just him that complicates things, and I think you could argue, oh, well, maybe we should have seen more with the mother, and like make that a little bit more complex and less black and white, maybe than it is in the movie. But for what it was, I thought it worked.
Mhm. And
Um,
like you guys were talking about earlier though with Jerry, like he's not putting enough work into this family. You know, he's just trying to check all the boxes and also will try to just buy her affection. Like on, he buys her the dog, and well, she likes the dog, but it doesn't make her like him anymore. You know, just the very
it
typical buying this kid
it
affection
really reminded
stuff.
me of, in a lot of ways, being a prototype for American Psycho, where Patrick Bateman
Mhm.
is he's doing all these things that he
Oh
thinks
yeah,
people will want him to say or do, but he's not actually trying to put any effort into connecting with people. Um,
yeah.
although
I
Patrick
also
Bateman is
kind
more
of
aware of what he is.
yes. But I actually got American Psycho vibes from the opening scene too, just in the tone of like the juxtaposition of how perfectly calm he is and like mundane it is to him, and the just horrifying things that you see that he did off screen.
Picks
Um,
up the toy boat, puts it away in the crate.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the movie just starts with him on the phone crying, talking about how he like tasted their brains. Um, real quick, because I just thought this was funny. So the mom, I think it's the mom, because her name was Susan, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right before this movie, she was in the first Troll movie, not Troll
Oh,
Two, but
Oh,
Troll One, the one nobody remembers.
I haven't seen.
But she was in like some notable stuff. She was in the original Charlie's Angels for 26
Mhm.
episodes. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's funny. I was looking up those actresses earlier, where the girl playing Stephanie, of course, was like in her 20s in real life. But if you look up both those actresses, it's like, oh, they're only like 15 years apart in real life, playing mother and daughter. But unlike a lot of other movies, I think Stephanie's actually believable as a high schooler.
Yeah.
Like, she does look very young, so it's not distracting while I'm watching it. It's just funny that those actresses are only like 15 years apart.
Oh, the one that plays Stephanie is in the 1989 Phantom of the Opera, which is the one I'm curious about. Because that is more of a horror one, and it's got Robert Englund.
That's why I'd
And
watch it.
the funniest thing about that, I don't know if you guys have seen the poster, but it says Robert Englund was Freddy. Now he's the Phantom of the Opera.
He's stopped playing Freddy.
I mean, by that point, we're near the
He
end
only
of
had
that
one more to go.
franchise.
Yeah.
No, would it be just one more in 89?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said 99. Okay, 89. Yeah, he'd have a few more after that.
Yeah. But so it's 8 o'clock. Obviously, we're not on a hard limit, but Robert has to go, and we have another commentary. So I just want to double check. Is there anything else that you specifically think we should talk about, Robert, since this is your film? Well, your pick.
Yeah, again, it's hard not to keep just going back to Terry O'Quinn's performance, but it's also, he's so good at being subtly creepy. Like early on, when we first see his dynamic with Stephanie, he's like calling her all these pet names that aren't sticking, but then like just the way he touches her, the way it's like that's way too much for a girl you've known for less than a year.
Yeah.
Where it's like hey pumpkin, hey my sweet girl, stuff like that. That's just very creepy.
Yeah.
And
For
part
somebody
of
he
me
hasn't known for
with
that
that,
long.
especially because I'm in 2025 and I can't ignore just the factor.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Well, that also goes back into that Patrick Bateman thing that you were talking about, John, where he's very clearly like unable to fit into the situation that he desperately wants to fit into, but he just feels so alien within it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Something though I should talk about though that I think is an actual problem with the movie, but I could let it slide. It's the third. I think it does have some third act issues, particularly with the main guy on his revenge quest. Uh, when I like the sequence a lot when he's like knocking on all these people's doors trying to find out where the guy is, and then he gets to Susan, and he asks for, and she's like, "Oh, Jerry's not here right now." And he's like, "Okay, he'll come back later." Next person he sees, he shows a photo to, and says, "Have you seen this guy? Do you know this guy?" Why didn't he show the photo to Susan if he has that on him, and say, "Oh, is this him?" You know, where because he's
That's
like,
true.
oh, I want to come back and surprise him, to make sure it's the right guy. You have a photo, just show her the photo and say, oh, is this him?
For some reason, I just paused for a second just because for some reason in that scene I thought that he knew that that was the right house, but I
He
guess I
didn't
was
know
just
yet.
missing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't
And then he
remember all
comes
of the
back
scenes
later
correctly. Yeah, okay.
when he knows for sure. And of course, it's that movie thing of why doesn't he go to the police again and say, hey, I've got like a really good lead. Of course, he goes around himself, and then yeah, I don't know, he gets taken out really easily.
Yeah.
Not even saying that's a problem. It's just kind of a bummer while you're watching it. It's like, oh, that did not
So that guy died.
pan out. But they used his gun to defeat Jerry, so that's something. I don't know. I think there's a couple third act issues like that.
I was waiting for the gun to like come back into the game. I was like, why didn't Stephanie pick it up? And then the mom picks it up.
Yeah. Well, that is
Um,
what I like about the climax, though, is that the mom and Stephanie do get to take this guy down
Take him
together.
out. Yeah. And then it's really her that does it too, which
That does the
makes
final cut
sense.
until the next movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Before we go though, I did have a nitpick that I wanted to bring up.
Go for it.
So we know that this stepfather guy, this serial stepfather, his whole MO is that when he's decided that he's done with a family, he knows that he's going to kill them. He moves to another area secretly to set up his new life. while, he's getting ready to kill the current family. Thing about that though is he has a beard and like longer hair and glasses at the beginning of the movie. How is he setting up his next life when he looks like that and he's going to change his appearance?
He did have a fake mustache.
Yeah, but that's like he has to shave at the beginning. Like, I don't know.
And look,
It did ruin the movie for me, but I
you
was thinking
can't
about
do
that.
this too many times. That's the real lesson of the movie. Is if you're gonna do this, you can't do it too many times. You gotta lock that down quick.
Exactly.
And there's so many great little moments throughout though where he does slip up. Like when he's selling the one house and he's like pushing the little girl in the swing and he's talking about his daughter and then he gets
My
the name
daughter,
wrong.
Jill. Yeah.
Like you said her name was Stephanie. He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then later that
He
pays off with
slips up right at the end. Yeah.
which I think is the best scene of the movie when his wife calls his work and they're like, no, he left weeks ago, and she's very confused and confronts him about it, and he thinks on his feet and is very quick, and it's like, oh, that damn receptionist, I gotta fire her.
I agree. No, this is the best scene because he slips up and he's like, "Wait a minute, who am I here again?" And it's just like, "Oh shit!"
I do think it's funny that he actually takes a pause to say, "Wait a minute, who am I?"
It's like, oh yeah, this guy might be crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on the poster. Like, that's so good that they used it for the poster, and you're not even thinking about that while you're watching it. That that's actually going to be a line, and it's great. It's such an earned moment. It's like, wait, I've been too many people. And then it hits her, and you're like, oh my god. So yeah, that stuff's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
So I'm glad you guys really liked it.
Yeah.
And
should we get into final thoughts?
Real quick before we do that, I will just say, because I have been ranking these. I know Robert. I don't think Robert has. This made number 4 on my list, right under Psycho 2.
Hey.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is one of the, I think, very underappreciated 80s horror movies, and one of the many ones you could point to and people say, oh, they don't like horror, they're exploitive, they're gory, they're nonsense. It's like, no, there's plenty of really good movies
that
are thoughtful and well written, that have interesting characters. And yeah, I like this movie a lot. Really enjoyed rewatching it, and it's currently on Amazon Prime. That's how I rewatched it. I still own this movie, but it's on a bunch of streaming services right now. If anybody wants to watch it.
I was looking to make sure I had a way to watch it before this review, and it's like on everything. It's like Prime, like Peacock. It's probably on Tubi. It was just
I watched this on Peacock. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot of final thoughts other than just this is a good, solid thriller / horror with great performances. I don't think there is a weak performance. There are things I would change, like I would have maybe fleshed out the mom's role in this dynamic a little bit more. But other than that, I don't. Yeah, just watch it.
Yeah, I think the final thing I wanted to hit that we talked about a little earlier though is with Stephanie. Well, two things. One, it's that this does fall into that horror subgenre where the killer is the protagonist, like in Silent Night, Deadly Night, where that's more of like an origin story for a slasher. This is different than that, but still, it's like that's part of what makes it interesting is we're mainly following the killer. But Stephanie also gets a lot of screen time, and I like that she's smart. The way she investigates and has her suspicions, and then the way he switches out the photo on her when she's looking into that serial killer story, and then oh well, that's not him. Okay. And then when he kills her psychiatrist friend, the way he uses that to break down that wall and get to her emotionally, it is so fucked up. And kind of sad and creepy. This person she really cared about, he's breaking the news to her that he's dead, and uses that to his emotional advantage. Where that's when she finally kind of clicks and gets along with him for a bit. They also celebrate Thanksgiving together, so it counts as a Thanksgiving horror.
I was going to bring that up too. I forgot. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, for sure. And this movie, the general premise, it's like I've seen this done so many times, done horribly, where I should hate this. This is just one of the few movies where I've seen it done correctly. It's where you have a main character that's suspicious of somebody for being like a killer or whatever, and then everybody else around them has to be dumbed down and not believe them. And it's like, oh, you're just a boy who cried wolf or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
something we really struggle with in fiction, with your like youthful protagonist who knows what's going on, but the adults can't know what's going on, so they have to be idiots. Everyone, I think, is handled pretty well. Like when he does the thing with the photo on her, then it's like, okay, well, now I'm no longer suspicious of him because she didn't see that coming, you know? And with the mom, it's like she's just kind of oblivious or naive, but then later when he snaps at her with like, he's trying to rape her
Yeah.
scene, that's when that riff starts to happen where she's like,
That's
oh,
when
maybe
she's like,
this
oh,
guy's not great.
this.
Yeah.
She's finally starting to see the red flags.
Mm. That's just the last thing I wanted to mention that I think this movie handles well is having like a young character being suspicious of
Yeah.
somebody and trying to on this mission and without dumbing everybody else down. Like her,
It's
her
believable
psychiatrist
in
or his
this.
friend, he's not like, oh, you're an idiot, you're a kid, to just love your new stepfather. That's probably nothing. No, he investigates. It gets him killed,
Yeah.
but he does try to help her out.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also other people onto him too. So it's not like
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah,
like
it's
it's not in a way where it's like Stephanie's trying to make a big deal of, oh, this guy's a killer, and no one believes him. That's
mhm.
really only like with the mother, and a few other characters, but yeah.
Yeah, this movie it does that movie thing where of course like all these subplots coalesce at the exact same time at the end, but like, with the guy looking
Yeah.
for him and Jerry finally snapping, but it's fine. And again, just those little beats throughout of Jerry starting to crack and slip
Yeah.
up where it's like, oh, he's done this too much.
Yeah.
It's starting to fall back. It's very organic and there's a very natural escalation to that
Yeah,
final breaking
for
point.
sure.
So yeah,
Yeah.
really enjoyable thriller, something very different. Watch this for Thanksgiving this year or Father's Day.
Thanksgiving. This is a
Good for you.
Thanksgiving horror movie. Yep.
Nope, that
Yeah,
is
because early on there's like leaves on the ground. I was like, oh, it's like another October kind of horror movie. And then there's a Thanksgiving scene. I was like, oh no, it's this. Okay.
But yeah, glad you guys
Um,
enjoyed it.
yeah. Well, I'll just quickly say I liked it. I really liked it.
it was a good
um,
movie. Okay,
basically for what we talked about. Yeah. Did we do ratings on the show, by the way?
I don't think we have been.
Okay.
No, not
Well,
typically.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
that's
Well,
that's fine.
I give it a
Um,
thumbs up.
yeah, thumbs up. All right, well we're gonna call it here. However, before we do that, it is Noah's turn to pick.
Oh
Noah,
yes.
what are you gonna make one of us, well both of us, but one of us watch for the first time?
Okay. I think I'm pretty sure neither of you have seen this. If you both have, I have a backup, which I know for sure one of you hasn't. But for my first choice, I'm gonna pick something that's a little bit more horror adjacent. Honestly, more of a thriller than a horror, but I think it still counts, and I think it's gonna be worth talking about. David Fincher's The Game. Have
Oh, I have
either of
not
you
seen
seen
Oh,
this?
this.
cool.
John hasn't.
I have not seen it. I
Oh, you both
know
haven't. Okay,
very
Don't
little
know anything
about it.
about it. Okay, so then
wonderful.
your second question,
Don't.
because we picked this. Sorry, real quick. Are you wanting to do
Okay,
a review like this or a commentary?
for that, I would prefer to do a review.
Okay.
So yeah. So since you guys know little about it, do not look anything up about it. Just watch it. Go in as
Is it
blind as you can.
streaming?
It's on Prime and I believe Netflix, but it's leaving Prime
Oh, okay.
Prime soon, so that's why I chose it.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
it's
will do that.
I just pulled up the Wikipedia. I'm like, yeah, it's David Fincher. It's Michael Douglas. So like,
I like
I
how you said
vaguely
don't
heard of
look
this
anything up
before.
about it, so he pulled up the Wikipedia page.
Don't just surface level stuff.
Well, I'm on
Obviously
the
don't
plot
read any
right now.
plot.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Okay.
don't read any plot.
Yeah,
So
no, I've never even heard you mention this movie, so that completely took me
yeah.
off guard.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
no, I'm really
So
excited
cool.
to talk about that now. Yeah.
Okay, so next Friday we will be doing the Fog and the Fog remake. I can't wait to see Noah's reaction to the Fog remake.
Oh God.
Oh God, you're one of them. Stay tuned. We're gonna take a 5 or 10 minute break, and then Noah and I are going to do a commentary on Final Destination, the first one, because Bloodline's coming out soon-ish.
I think next week.
Yeah.
Oh, that soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Robert hates us, so he's not gonna be here, but that's fine. Uh, Robert, thank you for the pick. I'm glad to finally knock this off the list. I had heard of this before. I meant to say earlier. I just haven't gotten around to it. We will see you guys in a few minutes. And Robert, I will see you Sunday for Alan Wake.
Cool. Later.